Recording is about to start. The recording is not starting, and hence I am waiting for a minute. Okay. Very good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Sanket Charka from CMV Institute, Pune. We are starting with the third chapter. We have dealt with the first topic of what is meant by economics. Second chapter, we have dealt with what is the demand and utility analysis. And in third chapter, we have started with the concept of supply and market equilibrium. We have now let's look at the definition. That is, according to Thomas, the supply of goods is the quantity offered for sale in a given market at a given time at various different prices. Then we have seen various determinants of supply, which are product price, price of related goods, cost and technology, objective of firm, future expenditure, weather and climatic conditions, number of sellers, and lastly, the taxation policy. Then we have seen the law of supply with respect to when the price of commodity increases, then its quantity supplied increases, and when its price decreases, quantity supplied decreases, other things remaining the same. So formula for it is supply is equal to function of price, that is S is equal to F of P, where S is equal to supply and P stands for price. Assumptions to the law of supply: no change in the price of factors of production, no change in the price of related goods, no change in the goals of the firm, no change in expectations of producer, no change in the state of technology, no change in number of producers, no change in government policy, and lastly, no change in the taxation and subsidy rates. Then we have seen individually with respect to what is an individual supply schedule and what is a market supply schedule, or functions of individual and supply, or that is market perspective. Then with respect to the supply curve, which is always sloping upwards. So as the price of a commodity increases, that is first thing, if the unitary price is rupees 10, then accordingly quantity supplied becomes 2. If the price increases to rupees 20, the quantity supplied becomes 4. Gradually it is 30, 40 and 50 per unit. Then accordingly the number of units supplied also increases 6, 8 and 10 respectively. Now, what are the various reasons due to which the supply curve is moving upward position? So why it is moving upwards in an upward level direction? So change in the stock level. So if the price of a commodity increases, accordingly, the quantity that is demanded, it decreases, and accordingly, that is there is an increase in the stock level of a particular commodity or the goods that are available. So due to the increase in the stock level of a particular commodity, the available number of goods and services into the market is started increasing, and there is more increased stock level into the market perspectives. Profit or loss possibility. So here a major concern is the profit or loss possibility with respect to the person who is purchasing the commodity or who is purchasing those goods for his daily consumption purpose. Now, if a particular price of the commodity keeps on increasing and the particular person is expecting to decrease the rise in future, then he may not purchase the goods in the current situation, and accordingly, the profit or loss possibility, that is, in order to save a certain sum of money, it is creating a certain situation wherein a possible situation of either increase or decrease in the price, which will affect the profit and loss of a particular individual or profit and loss of a particular consumer, that is a market situation or an individual situation or the company's perspectives. It tends or it forces the supply curves to move upward. Entry of the firm and exit of the firm. So exit of the firm. So there are various expectations with respect to entry and exit of the firm, wherein we are expecting that a particular new product may come into the market, and accordingly there can be several market changes that has been arised. So with this concern, it is a certain situation about if a new product is expected to be entered into the market, then accordingly there can be various changes, and it can be of a certain situation wherein market forces may tend to supply curve to move in an upward position. And lastly, incentives for innovations. So if it is expected that there will be various incentives for the innovative purposes, then accordingly it can be of a certain situation wherein the supply, that is the more quantity of the amount will be made available into the market's economy, and accordingly the innovative techniques or innovative production technology will help the supply curve to move upwards. Now, what are the various exceptions to the law of supply? We have seen with the future expectations of prices, increase in the agricultural goods, perishable goods preferences, goods of immediate action, disposable of the old stock, rare goods, and the backward countries. Now, understanding the market structure, we have a certain concern wherein commodity, that is the buyers and sellers who are in a direct competition with one another. Different market structure with respect to perfect competitive market and imperfect competitive market. Imperfect competitive market further divided into the four types, that is monopoly, monopolistic, oligopoly, and duopoly. Determinants of market structure, that is number of and nature of sellers, number and natures of buyers, nature of the product, entry and exit conditions, and lastly the economies of scale. So we have dealt with all these terminologies in detail. Basis of classification of market, that is on the basis of area, nature of transaction, volume of business, commodity and services, time, status of sellers, legality, and lastly the nature of competition. Perfect competitive market, that is a Kutzwalania. The definition given by Kutzwalny is place where there is a complete absence of rivalry among both the buyers and sellers. So a perfect competitive market, wherein there is no rivalry between the person who is selling and the person who is purchasing. Lipse, the definition given by Lipse is market structure in which all firms and industry are price takers and in which there is a freedom for entry and exit of the firms. Now, the features of perfect competitive market. So now, in the last lecture, we have dealt with these particular slides. So features of perfect competitive market are large number of buyers and sellers, homogeneous products, free entry and exit, perfect knowledge, absence of the transportation cost, perfect mobility, no artificial restrictions, and lastly, absence of selling cost. Now, moving towards the advantages and disadvantages of a perfect competitive market. So, first thing, let's look at the advantages perspective. That is, consumer sovereignty benefits to the consumers, cost saving, and economic efficiency. Yesterday, I have dropped in a certain image wherein which was specifically focusing about using the various charts, bar diagram, and graphs, and so on for benefit for writing your answers very carefully. So these are the various types of diagrams that you can use. So in my presentation, you can get a certain understanding about which type of diagrams can be used. So these are the various types of charts or the graph that you can use for. Now, the concept of advantages is consumer sovereignty. So in case of a perfect competitive market, there are a large number of buyers, there are a large number of sellers, and based on the feature, you can easily identify that the consumer is king into this particular market. So wherever the consumer feels, as and when he desires or as and when he needs, he can go or visit a particular seller or a particular purchaser or a particular retailer, and he can purchase the goods and services then and there itself. So here, consumer is always sovereign, consumer is always king in the market, and the decision taken by consumer is always final, and there is no more thrust or more competition that has been created with respect to the seller that is into existence. So here, whatever the consumer decision takes, it is completely binding on all the retailers. Benefits to the consumer, always a perfect competitive market seems to a certain perception or a certain understanding wherein ultimately the consumer is benefited at large. So why? Because in a perfect competitive market, the goods and services have been provided as per the need, requirement, and demand of the consumer itself. So as and when he feels, as and when he demands or he needs a certain commodity or a certain product, the goods have been demanded and the goods have been supplied to the market. So benefits to consumer, if a particular consumer places a certain order, places a certain quantity, and based on that requirement only, the goods and services have been provided and it has been created to a certain consumer. So here we have to understand about what are the various benefits that have been generated and how it has been availed to the various consumers. Cost saving, the concept of cost saving is a particular consideration wherein under imagine a market situation wherein there are a large number of buyers, there are a large number of sellers, and both the buyers and sellers are having a freedom with respect to what product is to be purchased, what product is to be sold, and where it has to be purchased, where it has to be sold. So here in this case, it is a certain situation wherein wherever a particular consumer feels affordable, there he can go, and wherever a particular retailer feels more profitable, at that place he can go and start availing the quantity of goods and services. So it completely depends upon what is the factor with respect to the saving, either your individual profit or individual loss making situation, and accordingly, the cost saving is a major perspective or a major thrust that has been given either by the buyer or either by the seller. Now understand that is there is a consumer A, and accordingly consumer A is having two options for a retailer, that is retailer M and retailer N. Now here at this stage, what will be the consumer do if he want to purchase a certain commodity, he will go out and search for both the option. That is, in the first retailer option, he will find out what is the price of a particular commodity. If the price of commodity is rupees for 50, again he will go to retailer B, that is retailer N, and he will ask the same product or the same quantity, and accordingly he will compare the price. Now if the product available at consumer M is at rupees 50, and if the consumer retailer N is providing the same product, same quality at rupees 52, then accordingly he will be having a certain thrust about which decision has to be taken for whether want to purchase at 50 or whether he wants to purchase at rupees 52. Or for example, if you are traveling 1 kilometer ahead, he is having another retailer who is providing the same product or same quality at rupees 45 per unit of commodity. So in this case, the cost saving factor here again 5 rupees is being saved, and accordingly he can understand by traveling from 1 kilometer he can get a better quality, better commodity in a same situation or the same standardization process. So here cost saving is a major concern. So wherever a particular either the retailer or either consumer feels, they can go to that particular location, and accordingly the goods can and services can be purchased. Then lastly, the economic efficiency. Always economic efficiency is being seen with respect to demand and supply and profit and loss making situation. As and when a particular individual feels, wherever he feels comfortable, he can go and purchase the commodity and the perfect competition is being provided. So if you feel that you want to sell a particular product, then you get a license very freely. If you want to close down your business, then accordingly, the business can be closed down very effectively. A consumer, if he feels that he wants to purchase from retailer A, B, C, or Z, that is n number of options are available with him. There is a proper economic efficiency with respect to his affordability, with respect to his budget, with respect to his own revenue, income and revenue expenditure account, and so on. So in this way, the economic efficiency is being seen or is being dealt by a particular person in a very effective way. So these are the various advantages with respect to the perfect competitive market. Now let's look at the various disadvantages of the perfect competitive market. First thing, no economies of scale. So here we can identify there is no economies of scale with respect to the different types and varieties of the product or commodity that is made available. So you may get a certain efficiency, you may get a good quality or a good product, but you cannot guarantee what quality of product is available for you. So in a wholesale market or in a bulk market, we cannot say or we cannot identify that I want a better commodity. Now, if you are expecting for a better commodity, then you have to pay an extra amount or an extra charge has to be paid to the particular vendor or a particular retailer, and then only the economies of scale can be created. So in this case, economies of scale is not possible, wherein if you are purchasing the wholesale or the bulk or maximum amount of quantity. Homogeneous product is a particular concern wherein if you are looking for a certain commodity or if you are looking for a different types of product in a same commodity or the same brand line, then every product is having a different feature. So the refrigerator you are purchasing of Whirlpool is completely different. The refrigerator you are purchasing of Lloyd is different. The refrigerator you are purchasing of Videocon is completely different, and so on. So depending on different product, different brand, different companies, the product is always differing with respect to its feature, quality, component structure, and so on. So always there is non-availability of the homogeneous product. So if the product are of a similar nature, then accordingly with respect to their brand origination, with respect to the product specification, with respect to the company's perspectives, it keeps on changing, and accordingly it is in a certain position about how do you identify or how do you differentiate a particular product. Insufficient profits. The concept of insufficient profits deals with a certain concern about a particular retailer or a particular consumer is not always satisfied about how much profit he has to earn. And what is the profit for a particular buyer? That is, he went to a particular retailer, and at this stage, what happened? He gets a certain commodity of a lower price. Now, if already you are getting the product or a commodity of a lower price, what do? We expect the price to be again a lower of quantity. That is, early in the earlier example, the standardization price that was provided by 3 retailers was 45, 50, and 52. Then again, what a particular consumer will feel that he wants a price below 45 also, and accordingly, in this case, the insufficient profit consideration situation is into existence. Or a particular retailer, if one retailer is selling at rupees 45, another selling at 50, and another selling at 52, there may be a fourth retailer who is ready to sell the same product, same commodity at rupees 55 also. So in this case, in order to earn 3 rupees or 5 rupees more of extra profit, the retailer can charge more, and accordingly the seller or that is the purchaser or the consumer can demand less of a price from a particular retailer. So in this case, the profit is always insufficient, and whatever profit you are earning, the consumer or either the retailer, they are not satisfied with the profit margin whatever they are earning for. Free flow of technology. There is no free flow of technology at this particular stage. Why? Because whatever goods you are manufacturing, whatever goods you are purchasing or whatever, they are always bulk quantity or an wholesale. There is a concept of a bulk purchase or a wholesale purchase, and at this stage we can come to a certain conclusion that there may be or there are certain concepts of defect that can be arise for. So when we are going for a mass production level, then accordingly with respect to the Six Sigma consideration, it is a certain situation or an origination wherein the product may get certain damages, and accordingly with respect to Six Sigma quality, what we have to understand about what quantity or product can be manufactured and what quantity of product may be sold into a particular market. And lastly, the external forces. External forces with respect to the changes in the government policy, changes in the terms, norms, regulations, changes in the price level of the competitors, government taxation policy that has been provided, changes by the competitors, external forces with respect to the climatic conditions, and so on. So all these external forces always keeps on affecting a particular either purchasing or selling decision. And if there are new threats or new entrants into the particular market, then accordingly the market demand either increases or market demand either decreases. So these are the various concepts with respect to advantages and disadvantages of perfect competitive market. Now, how the pricing of a particular product is being undertaken under a perfect competition. So pricing under perfect competition is usually carried out by two major methods. First thing is a total of market demand and total of market supply. Now, total of market demand is a particular question which is here at this stage you have to calculate a certain perception or a certain formula based situation with respect to what is a total demand of a particular product that has been demanded in a wholesale market or in a market at a larger scale or a broader scale. So we do not, at this stage, we do not take into consideration one retailer, two retailer, five retailers, or 10 retailers. So in case of a perfect competition, there are 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, 50,000 retailers, and accordingly, the total demand and total supply of this particular commodity is been identified. With respect to the number of consumers, you are not identifying a particular situation or a certain consideration with respect to one consumer or one family or one society. You are calculating the total demand or a total supply, or that is a product that has been required or that has been needed for a wholesale purchase or a retail, not for a retail purchase. So if the consumer is purchasing in a bulk quantity, if there are lot many number of consumers, that is 10,000 people, 50,000 people, 1 lakh people, 1 crore people, and 50 crore people, then we can identify about a perfect competitive market. Now, in case of there are certain different types of products wherein the depending on different categories of product also, the market can be identified as a perfect competitive market or an imperfect market. Now, understand or consider a particular situation, that is purchase of a Parle-G product or a Parle-G biscuits. Now, whenever we say that we are purchasing for a Parle-G product or a Parle-G biscuits, then accordingly, at this stage, the perfect competitive market is a particular situation wherein, in case of a Parle-G purchase goods and services, the market demand is or market supply is of a perfect competitive nature. In case of Oreo biscuits or a certain biscuits which are available for international concern, then at this stage there is no perfect competition. Why? Because the demand for the particular product is very less, and accordingly the supply of those commodity is also very less at this particular stage. So in this case, we have to understand, depending on the product category, depending on the product type also, whether there is a perfect competition, whether there is an imperfect competition, it has also to be determined, and accordingly we have to measure or we have to calculate the total market demand or total market supply of those commodities or the products. Comprises of total pricing under perfect competition. So there are various comprises with respect to the pricing under total perfect competition with respect to how the price has to be calculated or how the price has to be ruled out in a particular market. Now, ruling a price into a particular market, it is a particular concern wherein now here in the earlier slide, what we have seen that always it is a consumer sovereignty. So always the consumer is king into this particular market, and always the benefit or advantage is given to consumer. So as and when or how the consumer feels, accordingly, the product or commodity or the goods and services have been demanded, and accordingly the goods and services have been provided. So here always comprising of total pricing under perfect competition. So whatever price is affordable to the consumer, whatever price they are feeling comfortable or it is purchasable to them, only that particular price has been decided, and accordingly it has been set in a wholesale market or a retail market. Seller is the price taker and not the price maker. Why? Because always it is a consumer based or a consumer sovereign product or a consumer sovereign market, and here in this case only the seller gets a benefit of what the product he's been selling for. So if the total cost of a particular product is rupees 9 and the product is being sold at rupees 10, then accordingly he remains only the price taker, that is 1 rupee of profit is made for him, and he's not the price maker. So here the seller cannot say that the price of the product or the price of commodity can be 11 or 12 or 13 or so on. So here always in case of a perfect competitive market, whatever the consumer is feeling, whatever decision the consumer is making based on those concerns, that is the MRP, maximum retail price, based on the government considerations, the price is been set, the price has been decided, and accordingly the combination of total cost, profit, and the selling price has been made, and the product has been sold out into a particular market. So seller is the price taker and not the price maker. So we understand very clearly about what is the meaning of price taker and what is the meaning of price maker. Price taker is a particular concept wherein he only has to set or he only has to manufacture a certain commodity, but he cannot decide the selling price of that particular product. Now, based on the decision of the selling price, what do? Our differentiation with our measurement or differentiation with respect to the profitability situation is been determined or it has been ascertained. So total cost here identified is rupees 9 and the selling price is identified at rupees 10. Then here in this case, what is the situation? That is only 1 rupee of profit is made available for you. But if the seller is selling this particular commodity or the selling commodity at rupees 12, then here and this case, what happened? The additional profit of rupees 3, that is additional profit of rupees 2, that is total profit of rupees 3 is being created for him. And in this case, he becomes a profit taker. But here, what the consumer will do, the consumer will change his purchase decision, and accordingly, he will not purchase the commodity which is available at rupees 10, but he will go to another retailer and he will purchase the commodity which is available at rupees 10 per unit or per commodity. So in this case, we have to understand about what is the situation with respect to either increase in price or decrease in price with respect, and how whether a particular retailer will become a price maker or whether he will become price taker. Now, price and output determination under perfect competition. So how you can determine the price and how you can determine the output with respect to the price determination under the perfect competition market. So if we say that there is a perfect competition in the market, then what are the various factors, what are the various concerns with respect to which we determine the price of a we determine the price of a particular commodity, and we can identify what output has been created under a perfect competitive market. First thing is the equilibrium of firm in the short run. So here, always equilibrium, that is matching the demand and supply at every stage or point of time, is quite essential. Now here, the term equilibrium is a certain concern or is of utmost importance, wherein we have to understand about where can be a certain situation or where can be a particular point wherein the demand and supply curve matches completely. Now, what is the situation now here? Just imagine or just identify what was the consideration of demand curve. Demand curve was always sloping downward and the supply curve was always sloping upward. Now here, now at a several stage or at a certain point of time, what will happen? There can be a certain situation wherein at any stage or any point of time, the demand and supply curve may match, and accordingly they may jointly get together at a particular situation or at a particular position. Now here, on this particular slide, I am drawing something. Now take this scenario, that is, this is the x-axis and this is the y-axis. Now in case of x-axis and y-axis, what was the situation? Now first thing, the demand curve. What was the concept of demand curve? The demand curve was always sloping downward in this particular position, right? Now understand the concept of supply curve. So supply curve was a particular situation wherein it was moving in an upward position. So here in this fashion or in this particular mode. So here, now here in this case, now this is y-axis, this is x-axis, this is the demand curve, and this is the supply curve. Now at every stage, what we are looking for, accordingly, as the quantity decreases, accordingly the supply price of the commodity increases, and as the price of commodity increases, the quantity demanded also decreases. Now at a several stage or at a several point of time, what will be a situation that both the curve will intersect or both the curve will meet each other and cross each other. So this particular consideration or this particular point wherein the demand curve and the supply curve is meeting each other or they are crossing each other, that particular point is called as a point of equilibrium. Here with I'm marking it with blue line or a black dot. Is it visible for everyone? Can you see it clearly? I am drawing it.
Yes, sir.
Hello? Hello? Is it visible for you? Hello? Can someone please respond?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here at this stage, you can see at this particular point of intersection, the demand curve and supply curve are completely matching each other. And here there comes a point of an equilibrium wherein demand is always equal to supply. So this is the point, or this is a particular situation wherein we can say that both the demand and supply are matching each other. And that particular situation is called as a perfect competitive market or a perfect competitive situation. So in this case, at every stage or every point of time, we have to come into consideration wherein the demand and supply curve are matching with each other, and accordingly the profit has been generated or profit has been created. So equilibrium of the firm in the short run. Now here in this case, what happened? Now understand a particular scenario wherein I'll just a minute. I'll insert a blank slide. Now understand a particular situation wherein we can come to a certain conclusion. I am drawing it here for you. So a particular x-axis is available for you. This is y-axis, this is x-axis, and based on this situation, what happened? The earlier demand curve. demand curve was available in this fashion, supply curve was available in this fashion, that is DD and SS, supply curve. Now it can be a certain situation wherein with respect to the normal terms and conditions, in terms of normal condition, what will be the equilibrium? The equilibrium point will be in this particular fashion, that is the demand curve is moving downwards, supply curve is moving upwards, and equilibrium is available at this particular point, that is E. Now E is the point of equilibrium. Now there were different types of concepts available for you, that is extension in demand or contraction in demand, extension in supply or contraction in supply. Now understand the situation wherein if there is a situation of extension in demand. Now extension in demand will be a certain situation wherein the demand curve will move to the right hand side, that is to the right hand side of this particular situation, or it will move in a downward position, that is if the demand decreases, then accordingly the demand curve will move in a downward position. Now if the demand curve is moving in a downward position, what will be the case? Again here at this stage, the demand and supply curve will change. The supply curve remains the same. Why? Because the price of the commodity is not changing. Now here, look at this particular point, the dotted line that I'm drawing for you. So here in this case, in terms of the dotted line situation, now your point of equilibrium earlier was E. Now the point of equilibrium will become R, or whatever it may be, it will become, for your understanding, we'll keep it E1. So this is the situation wherein if the demand curve increases to a certain position, if there is an extension to the demand, that is the demand keeps on increasing at economically simultaneously, the quantity demanded also keeps on increasing. Now understand a standard situation wherein the price was rupees 50 and accordingly the quantity demanded was 10. Again, in the same case, what happened? If the price of the product is, for example, rupees 50, but what happened? The quantity demanded increases to rupees to 20 units. So what is happening? There is only increase in the quantity, but the price remains the same. So there is an increase in demand, and accordingly, we can say that there is extension to demand or there is an increase to the demand. But in this particular situation, what happened? Now here the price is, for example, 40 or 45, and accordingly the quantity demanded is again a bit higher. What is that higher quantity? The quantity demanded becomes a bit higher, that is either 30 or 35. But in standard terms or standard norms, what happened? Whenever the price is rupees 40 or whenever the price is rupees 45, the quantity demanded was only 25. So here we can say that there is an extension to demand. In terms of the standardization, 45 was the price and the quantity demanded was 25. But now if the price is 45, it becomes double. Now it comes to 35. So by 10 quantity or 10 units, the price or the requirement of that commodity here it will come 15. Between 10 to 15, it comes 15. Okay. So make that corrections accordingly if you are drawing that particular graph. So between 10 to 20, it will become 50. So here, here in this case, we can say that there is an extension to demand or there is an increase in demand. That is, the price was rupees 45, the quantity demanded was 15, and if the price remains same, that is 45, but the quantity demanded increases to 35. So here what you can see, the extension is around bit more than the required level of percentage. So here in this case, we can say about increase in demand by a certain percentage. Now there may be another reverse situation with respect to this concern also. What is the reverse situation? That is the price is rupees of 30-45 also, and if the income level of the consumer decreases, then accordingly the quantity demanded decreases to rupees 5 units. So this is the situation, this is the point, or this is the concern wherein the quantity demand increases, then we can say there is a contraction in demand. So here in this case, we have to understand, or we have to identify what is the change in the long run and what is the change in the short run. Now I'll explain you a certain concept about standard terms and conditions, norm, demand curve, and supply curve. Now here at this stage, what you can do, here you can identify about what is the duration with respect to a long run curve and a short run curve. A perception of long run curve means the demand keeps on increasing, but accordingly in a different position. Now here, the demand curve was sloping in a downward position at a very stable rate or at a very stagnant rate. And the supply curve was also moving at a very stable rate or a very stagnant rate. But the curve, it can be either in this position, or the curve can be in this position, or the curve can be in this position also. Here in this case, what happened? the dotted line you can see. Or if we consider it to be an extension to point. Now what happened? It is not in a slanting position. The first curve that you are looking for, the first curve is always in a slanting position. Second curve also in a slanting position. But the third curve, the curve has moved from its position, and accordingly the quantity demanded is bit higher. So if the quantity demanded is bit higher, then accordingly in this case or in this stage we can identify about how the change is there. Now we cannot say that the demand curve is moving downward, but demand curve is in a slanting position. Again, in the further situation, in the furtherance, the demand curve is again moving to a bit higher level. So here in this case, we can identify, we can say that there is a long run demand curve. So here in this case, for the long run period of time, that is, it may take around so many years. Now here, the identification at this particular position, standardized. Now these were the standard level wherein the demand curve and the supply curve met at this particular position, and this is the point of intersection, or this is the point of equilibrium which is available. That is, the demand and supply curve matches at 1 year point of duration. That is, for a 1 year we can say that the demand curve and supply curve are matching each other. But here in this case, what happened? That curve gets increased. Now understand, identify this particular situation. Here in this case, here in the second case, and again in the third case or the third situation wherein it is meeting at this particular point. So here it was requiring 1 year, now it will require 5 years, here it will require 10 years. So a long run demand curve. Or a reverse situation, how it can happen? The demand curve, traditional mode, it can be this way, or it can be this way, or the demand curve can be very steep in this particular position. So here in the accordingly there can be, now just we are speaking of only change in the demand curve, there can be the change in supply curve also here. Now take a situation, and I'll draw, this is the red color marker, and with the red color marker I am changing the supply curve. So in the same fashion, the supply curve can move in an upward position or in a downward position also. Here in this case, now the supply curve can move in this position, or this particular position also, or it can directly move in a particular position which is parallel to x-axis. So in this way, the supply curve also can have the different positions, the different variations. So here, now here at every stage or every point of time, as now for example, if this is your supply curve, and this is your demand, where is the demand curve? If this is the demand curve, so supply curve is this and demand curve is this. So here it was, earlier was your equilibrium point. Now where is your equilibrium point? Your equilibrium point comes at this position. So here comes your equilibrium point, which is bit higher. Now which is bit higher means here at, for example, at this standardized level the price was rupees 50. Now the equilibrium price is rupees 100, but the quantity has decreased. What we are seeing, increase in the price and decrease in the quantity. So here, if the price is increasing, accordingly the quantity demanded also decreases. So in the standard terms or standard norms, if the quantity demanded is 100, then accordingly the quantity demanded becomes 40. So in this way, accordingly, the standardization position can be attained and it can be achieved. And accordingly, we can come to a certain conclusion about how a demand curve and supply curve can match or can make a certain position. Clear with this point, everyone? Increase or decrease in demand and extension in demand, contraction in demand.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Abnormal profit, losses, and normal or break-even point. So now here all these 3 points I have covered. What is meant by abnormal profit, what is meant by losses, and what is meant by normal or break-even point. Again, I'll show you a certain example with respect to what is meant by abnormal profit, what is meant by losses, and what is meant by break-even point. This is my demand curve. This is my supply curve. Now here at this stage, the demand curve and supply curve are matching at this particular position, and it is called as an equilibrium. So this is called as a break-even point. Abnormal profit. Now here, what is the concept of profit? Wherein if the company is earning more of commodity or less quantity is being purchased. Now take a certain situation or say take a certain example wherein there is a decrease in demand curve or an increase in demand curve. Now a slanting position wherein the price increases but the demand of product or demand of the quantity of the product decreases. Now here take this situation. This is your demand curve. Now if this is the demand curve, what happened? The price is increasing but accordingly the quantity is decreasing. And now here in this case, take a situation wherein understanding a scenario of this particular quantity. Now quantity at this stage is, for example, 20 units. Now in case of 20 units, if that is the standardized position, the price was rupees 50. Now if you want to identify if there is an abnormal loss or abnormal profit, if the price increases. Now if the price increases from 20 to 50 to 60, what happened? 50 to 60. So again, here in this case, what the company is doing, the quantity demanded increases from 50 to 60, but here the quantity demanded remains same. If the price increases from 50 to 60, if the quantity remains the same, then we can say that there is an abnormal profit to the company. That is, the people or the consumers are demanding the same product, same commodity, but accordingly, the retailer or the seller is earning an additional profit at this particular position. And what is that additional profit? The additional profit is rupees 10 that a particular consumer is, that a particular retailer is obtaining. Or in another situation, that is the quantity demanded. Now here in this case, you can see what is, now if this is a particular price, and accordingly this is the quantity demanded. So if now at this particular point, now this was the standard demand curve. Based on the standard demand curve, the quantity demanded, if the, for example, the price is rupees 30 and the quantity demanded is, for example, 50, then in the earlier situation, now if the price remains same, that is if the price is rupees 30 and if the quantity demanded increase, where is my demand curve? So here it is the demand curve, and accordingly it decreases. So accordingly the quantity demanded may also decrease at this particular point of time. So it is called of an abnormal loss. So either you may have an abnormal profit or either you may have an abnormal loss situation, and accordingly your shift in demand curve will always be of a certain position about how a consumer is demanding or how a consumer is looking for a particular product or a particular commodity. Should I rub it? Any difficulty at this stage? Hello?
No, sir.
Okay. Would you like to ask any
Sir,
question? Yes. Fast.
ते पुसून टाकला आता.
I asked you earlier, should I rub it or not?
सर ते डिमांड व्हॉट डिमांड प्रॉफिट ते डिमांड नॉर्मल ते लास्ट मध्ये तुम्ही नाही केलं का ते खाली जो आपला ग्राफ तेव्हा खाली गेला
I've
होता.
taken all the 3 points: abnormal profit, abnormal losses, and normal or break-even point.
हाँ, abnormal profit, sir. I want
equilibrium of profit in the long run. Which one do you want?
abnormal profit.
Abnormal profit. Okay, I'll draw it again. X-axis, Y-axis, demand curve, supply curve, break-even point. You understood till this position?
Yes, sir. I think now they are very good.
Now take a situation wherein this is your standard terms and conditions. The price is rupees 50 and quantity demanded is 20. So here 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50. Price 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Now abnormal profit situation, how it can arise? That is, there is no steadily, or there is no proper change or movement in the demand curve. Now in the terms of the demand curve, what we have seen, that if the product commodity increases or decreases accordingly in the same proportion, in the same quantity, the product demanded or the quantity demanded increases or decreases. Now it was always in a downward slope position curve wherein equal number of proportions or equal number of quantity was decreasing. Now, if there is a situation of abnormal state or abnormal condition, now here your demand curve may move in this fashion or in this direction. That is, it is coming below the break-even point. So here, at this stage, you have the break-even point, and at the break-even point, you can see that the break-even point is shifted to a downward position. The demand is increasing, that is, the price of the commodity is increasing, but accordingly, the demand curve is moving to a downward position. Now here in this case, if the demand curve is moving in a downward position, what will be the scale? Wait a minute. Now if this is a situation or if this is a concern, then what we can say that a demand curve is moving or shifting to an abnormal situation. Now here, in this case, what happened? Here you can see Proportionately, the price of the commodity is increasing, but accordingly, the quantity supplied or quantity demanded is also increasing. So the company can earn either abnormal profit or abnormal losses, and accordingly, there can be a change in the demand or change in the commodity of price that has been set for. Now here, understand a situation wherein if the demand curve is moving in this particular fashion or in this particular position. Now here, understand that is the price of rupees 60. At the price of 60, here you can see that the same quantity of the goods and services have been demanded, that is 20 products have been demanded or that are being used. Earlier in the normal terms, the price was rupees 50.
Sir, in this position, sir, demand is decreased. I think no? The quantity of product is
Demand is
decreasing.
same. The price
Demand
of the
is same.
price of the product is been increased from 50 to 60, but the demand remains same. Now, if the demand remains the same and the price keeps on increasing, it is benefit to the retailer or it is benefit to the consumer.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Who is getting benefit?
Retailer,
How?
because demand of product is same, and but the this price of that product is increasing if the consumer are purchase the product.
How he
Yes.
gets the profit? Justify your answer with a logic.
जे प्रोडक्ट आहे सर त्याची प्राइस कॉन्स्टंट आहे तरी सुद्धा जे कंझ्युमर आहे ते
Price is not constant. Price has changed from 50 to 60.
हा वाढते बट त्यांची डिमांड जी ती फिक्स आहे ना.
Where is the profit? Show me that profit. Where you can see the profit?
सर 50 to 60 मध्ये.
Right. The actual 10 rupee profit here at this position is available to the retailer. Why? Because the same amount of quantity that has been demanded is sold at a 10 rupees of higher price. So here in this case, we can say that this is the 10 rupee of additional profit that has been created. So abnormal situation, it can happen only at a very few places or at a very few concerns. So this is the situation wherein an abnormal situation may be arise, and accordingly the firm may get a profit of an abnormal nature. In the same case, he can get an abnormal losses also, wherein the demand curve may shift to an downward position, and accordingly the abnormal loss or abnormal profit can be created. So here, earlier, the price was available, but accordingly the quantity increases, and if the price is same, accordingly the quantity may also decrease in the same position or the same fashion. So in this case, we can identify about what is the abnormal loss and abnormal profit making situation. Okay, that is equilibrium of firm, equilibrium same as we have the equilibrium of firm in the long run. In the same fashion, we have equilibrium of the industry in the short run and equilibrium of the industry in the long run. Okay, that's all for today's lecture. Thank you so much everyone for joining. This was the entire concept of perfect competitive market, wherein there is a situation of wherein the concern of perfect market situation is into existence, wherein there are large number of buyers, large number of sellers, perfect mobilities of factors of production, homogeneous product fee entry and exit, absence of transportation cost, no artificial restrictions, and absence of selling cost is into existence. Chalo. Thank you everyone for joining. Good day. I am posting the link.
Good day, sir.
Thank you, sir.